I'm Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri, and we're here this afternoon to announce an arrest in a second-degree murder case that occurred this past Saturday night, March 7th. Deputies were called to 2601 First Street in Indian Rocks Beach shortly after 10 o'clock last Saturday night. And as a result of the investigation, the victim, who is known as J.J. Rush, or John Joseph Rush, was shot and killed by his former wife, Cara Ryan. She's a white female, date of birth is 10/1 of 69. And what we know about Cara and J.J. is the following. They were married in 1997. They divorced 9 years later in 2006. They got back together again in 2007 and remained in an on and off relationship until they separated again in February of this year. About February 15th is when they separated. Ryan is a teacher at Clearwater High School. She's been a teacher there since 2009, has been a teacher for about 24 years. JJ was a retired St. Petersburg police sergeant. He retired in 2005, and he was last assigned to the forensics unit at the St. Petersburg Police Department. We also know that JJ was previously married to Sherry Tribby for 3 years from 1990 until about 1994. Together they had a 21-year-old daughter, Megan. And what we also have learned through the investigation is that Cara Ryan and Sherry Tribby and JJ all went to high school together, and that there was some ongoing relationship between the three of them since that time. So the relationship between the defendant in this case, Cara Ryan, and J.J. Rush appeared to be one where there was very significant control by Cara Ryan over J.J. And some examples that we've learned throughout the investigation are that J.J. was not allowed to have his own bank account. All monies he earned went into an account that was fully controlled by Cara Ryan. If he went out to lunch, he had to turn a receipt into her, showing her what he spent that money on. He recently went to purchase a dress for his daughter for a job interview, and this was after he had left Karen. And he was so ecstatic about it because he was finally allowed to spend money on something he wanted to spend money on, and on his family, didn't have to report it back to her. He also went out recently and purchased a computer because she wouldn't let him have a computer. So the relationship between them was a very domineering, dominant, and controlling relationship by Karen over JJ. And he had recently, as evidenced by moving out on February 15th, expressed his reluctance to submit to that dominance, and he was exhibiting his independence. 2 days before the homicide occurred on Saturday, is that Cara learned that JJ had taken her off of his bank account, so she no longer had access to those bank accounts. And by all accounts, that she was upset over that, and upset over the fact that he was now exerting his independence and was moving on and moving away from her. So on Saturday night, JJ received a text from Cara on his cell phone. The text was sexual in nature, and it was inviting him to come over to her apartment. We know that he did arrive there at the apartment in Indian Rocks Beach on First Street. And we know through the investigation, which includes many statements in a variety of capacities that Cara Ryan made and others that we interviewed, that when JJ arrived there, he went inside and was engaged in some form of activity with Cara. Something happened where there was another text message that was received by Cara from someone else. It was another male, and that she was having a relationship with. And at that point, something happened where JJ became aware of that And this is where it starts going in about 100 different directions. And initially, what Cara Ryan told us initially is that after that happened is that, and she was involved in some sort of a sex act with JJ, that he became upset and he began to rape her. And it was a very violent rape. Based upon the evidence, based upon the investigation, and based upon the totality of circumstances, I don't think the evidence will show that that happened at all. In fact, that she was lying and that she made that up. She also told us a different version, and the second version was that an argument ensued, that JJ left, got in his truck and left the area. And then a short while later, she's laying in bed asleep or getting ready to go to sleep, and some unknown intruder came into her apartment, and all she saw was this hand. And when she saw the hand, she took out her .38 caliber pistol that she had next to her bed, and she shot, and she didn't know who she shot. Then another version that we got from her was that JJ came back, and she knew it was JJ, and when he came into the apartment, that she knew it was him, and that because he was upset is that she shot him and he, quote, didn't have a chance. So there were many different versions that Cara Ryan told of the events that occurred last Saturday night. And she told these to our detectives and investigators. She told others during a series of phone calls that we were able to listen to over the last several days. And at the end of the day is that we know that Cara Ryan shot J.J. Rush. We know that after he was shot, that he left the apartment. He went to a next-door neighbor's apartment, told the next-door neighbor that he had been shot, and asked the neighbor to call 911. He then collapsed and died there on the porch of the neighbor's residence. We know that when he collapsed that he was fully clothed. He had boots on that were laced. His pants were up, his zipper was up, his belt was buckled, and there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever of any type of a sexual assault. So when the deputies got there, again, they first interviewed Ryan, and immediately she began to give a series of very conflicting statements as to what happened. And because of those conflicting statements and the subsequent phone calls that we were able to listen to and information we received from others, is that what we believe the evidence will show is that she was extremely upset about losing control over JJ, and got him to come over there last Saturday night by sending him this explicit text message, and that she shot him, and when she shot him, she shot him through the left arm. It went into his chest and into his heart, and the bullet was found in the stomach cavity. She shot him one time, and then he stumbled out and went to the neighbor's house, which is where he died. So we believe this is a domestic-related homicide, and that Cara Ryan was acting out because she was losing control over him. She knew she was losing control over him, and that he was exerting this independence. And all these different versions of events and all these stories and concocted nonsense that she's come up with in the last few days, just that, and that she killed him. It's a complex investigation and kind of a convoluted investigation because of all of the different stories. Cara Ryan told during the last few days at least 10 different versions of what happened last Saturday night. So the only things that we know with 100% certainty is that J.J. Rush was shot by Cara Ryan, and there's no evidence to suggest at this point that a sexual battery occurred, and we know that you can't have it multiple ways. You can't have it where I shot and killed him because he's standing on top of me, he's straddling me, he's penetrating me, and he's sexually battering me. And then it's, no, whoops, wait a minute, okay, it's not that. Is I was laying in bed asleep, and I see this guy come through the door, and I see this hand, and I was scared, so I reached out and shot, and I didn't know who it was. And then she realizes, she says, well, I thought it was JJ. But did she say, oh, JJ, sit down. Oh, let me help you. No, he runs out. And then she delays calling 911 for several minutes. And then the next version of events is that, well, it wasn't a rape and it wasn't a stranger, and I knew it was him and he was coming through the door and I shot him. So again, she's lied several times and told many different versions of the events that happened last Saturday night. So with that, any questions that you all have? Yeah.
Do you believe that it was a premeditated act, meaning that she asked him over there to kill him, or do you believe that it was an argument that happened inside that led to the shooting?
Well, I think it's an argument. We've charged her with second-degree murder, and we believe that that's what the evidence shows at this point. Further investigation will be conducted by the state attorney's office and by our investigators. If it warrants changing those charges based upon subsequent investigation, that'll be a decision the state attorney makes. So we have not charged it at this point as a first-degree murder. We've charged it as a second-degree murder.
So that would be an argument, or something happened inside the
Correct. Correct.
But not intending to bring him over for a shooting.
Correct.
Do you guys think she could be suffering from any kind of illness that she's making up all these different versions?
There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of any mental illness or behavioral health issues, and there's no evidence of that. One of the things is that, so we get this all out here now because it will come out, is that the text message that she received. So as I mentioned to you, so she's in the house with JJ shortly after 10 o'clock. She did get a text message, and it was sexual in nature from somebody else, and the somebody else is a detention sergeant, Scott Holderbaum, who works for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. So she had a relationship with Sergeant Holderbaum as well. And that'll come out, so let's just get that out now, and so that it's out on the table. Doesn't mean anything. It's that she was divorced, they were separated. Holderbaum had a relationship with her, and she knew a lot of cops. And she was somebody who frequented events where cops went, and JJ was a cop for 15 years. So there's nothing unusual about that, is that she had relationships apparently with law enforcement and walked in law enforcement circles.
Was he getting a pension or disability that she was kind of knew that was a monthly payment that she wanted to get her hands on?
Well, from what I understand, he was currently employed as an investigator at the medical examiner's office, as well as he had a pension from the St. Pete Police Department. She, from what we know and from what we've learned, had a definite interest in his bank account and had a definite interest in his money and what he was spending and how he was spending it, and dominated him and controlled him about his spending, to the point where the man couldn't even buy a computer, to the point where he had to turn in receipts when he went to lunch. So I'd say that she had a real interest, and then again, he cut her off from that bank account, and she learned of that 2 days before the shooting. And from what others have told us, is that he felt freedom, he felt ecstatic, he felt relieved from the pressure because he was actually able to go out and live his life.
Where did she get the gun from? Was her gun registered to her? Was it?
We don't know. Again, here in Florida, there's no registration of guns. So it was a .38 caliber handgun. She had it there in the bedroom. It was when we found it, it was sitting on the nightstand next to the bed.
So did she claim self-defense, Sheriff, in that last version that she told where she admitted that she shot him?
So it's one version is that he's straddling me, he's on top of me, he's raping me, he's penetrating me, and I shot him while he was raping me. The next version is I saw a hand and I just shot. So, and then the other version is that I knew it was JJ and I shot him. So, it depends upon what the flavor of the moment was. Is that, no, because again, she didn't tell the truth. She's, told at least 10 different versions of this over the last several days to a variety of different people, including us. So, again, in her story, there's a lot of inconsistency. The physical evidence is inconsistent with her version of events. And the physical evidence, I'm not going to get into all the details of it now, but even the location where he was shot, in his left arm going into the left side of his chest, as to how she says it happened, it couldn't happen that way. So there's a lot of inconsistencies in her statements, and there's a lot of inconsistencies between what she says happened and the physical evidence as well.
Does she admit that she invited him over there initially?
Yes. Yes, she does. Which raises the question, as to, why? And again, from what we can tell, again, she learned just 2 days before that he cut her off on the bank account. And, you know, you got somebody that was very controlling. She was upset that he was exerting his independence, and it finally got out from underneath her. So. All right, anybody have anything else? Okay, all right, thanks.